What's going on, everybody? BobbyFi back with my man Eric Sheets-Haber. We are doing our first look PGA contest for the week, and we have a huge tournament for the first time. I mean, they've all seemed like majors, but we actually have one. And Sheets, what are you thinking? I know we've got a lot of sports going on, but what are your sort of initial takes on this slate?
Well, I'm gonna pull my screen up. Do I have a
build out?
do I have a lineup yet? Well, I'm gonna do that. But my initial thoughts, and this is, I think they do this on purpose. They do this. DraftKings does this on purpose for like the NBA Christmas Day slates and for a lot of other things that they know they're gonna be a lot of people on there. They make it very, really soft. I mean, they make it so that people can play the guys they want to play. And I guess that's kind of cool in a way. It would be nicer if it was a little harder or whatever, but it's not like golf is like so easy. You know what I mean? Like there's like 1,000 guys that people could want to play. So it's not as if it makes it, an easy game to beat this weekend, but the pricing is generally pretty soft.
Yeah, I agree. But it's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can be a lot of good golfers that are very affordable. So we'll get into it. Let's bring up your screen and we'll sort of go tier by tier as we tend to do.
Okay.
And so at the very top, who are we playing here? Who's sort of you?
Yeah, my two favorites. My two favorites. So I hate to do this, but I think I want to. Oh my God, I'm going to play a guy who hasn't made a shot at since the Eisenhower administration. I think I like Rory. I'm between Rory and JT at the top as far as just overall chances to win relative to salary and things like that. But I will say that relative to ownership, if what I'm looking at makes any sense or whatever, I have no problem taking a shot at DeChambeau at low ownership up here.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Rahm too. I feel like he's getting overlooked a little bit this week. So I think both of those guys make for interesting contrarian plays. And I'm sort of going to do what we've been doing in some of the tougher tournaments, and that's overload the top end. So I am going to be overweight on a majority of players here, but there's some guys who I'm just not really like considering in other tiers that we can get into later. But basically, I want to be overweight on most of these guys, except for I'm okay with being like near the field on Brooks or near the field. Even on Rahm, I'll probably just be a little bit over the field. I would like to be higher on Rory than any of them, and just barely ahead of JT. I have them very close, so I'm going to mostly favor Rory and then JT.
Yeah, that makes that's fine, but it's funny, when I did my first kind of look at it, I think I went a different route. I think I was doing more middling than higher and lower. But we can talk about that.
Yeah. We'll get into it. I mean, I actually like Schauffele quite a bit as well. He's going to be very popular, but he's been super consistent in these situations, and he's played really well in most of them. So I'm okay with Schauffele. I probably will be near the field with him. I don't mind eating a little bit of that chalk with some of my lineups.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I mean, we'll go down a little bit. For me, I'm gonna go back to living in that 8K, 9K range, but we'll talk about it. I'm not playing any of Tiger Woods. I think the field is, and it's kind of ridiculous to say this, right? But I think the field's too tough. I'm just not playing him. I'm rooting for him for sure, as any red-blooded American should do. I think. Mm-hmm. But tell him you root for Bryson DeChambeau over Tiger Woods. You're not human. That's another story.
Yeah.
So I'm not really getting to any Tiger Woods or Dustin Johnson. He can keep it. I wasn't going to get to Daniel Berger. I'll tell you, if we go down a little bit more, I'll tell you who I really do like. I like Colin Morikawa at 8,600. I love, man, I say I love. I mean, he hasn't won anything in forever. I love Hideki at 8,200. Patrick Reed, I have to make my weekly donation at 8K. I like Finau at 7,900. I just think these are prices way too cheap for guys who can actually win the tournament. So this is probably my favorite. I guess my favorite range. I Reed, Morikawa, Finau. Even when we go down a little further, I like some people down there also. You don't like this range that much?
No, I do. I actually will be ahead of the field on Tiger.
Interesting.
I've seen the story a little bit too many times just to ignore it,
Okay.
He's come back and been strong, and I know he struggled, but he actually played well at times. He actually oddly played well on the tougher holes and sort of messed up a lot on the fives. But a little bit of him. I mean, I'm still not going to take much to get ahead of the field. He's going to be lower owned this week for a change. He came out today saying he felt great. Patrick Cantlay, I understand the chalk. I don't know how much of it I'm going to end up actually getting to. Webb Simpson, I actually like a lot, but I don't want him to be my top golfer for some reason. I have a little bit of I have a little bias towards those other guys winning the actual tournament. And I'm avoiding Dustin Johnson, Daniel Berger entirely, even in a big script. I'm just going to cross those guys off who are going to garner a lot of ownership so I can sort of make some of the other plays that I like. I like Morikawa a lot also. I'm with you on him, but I think he's going to be popular. I have a little bit of interest in Hovland. I have no interest. I'm just going to skip Jason Day and Ricky Fowler also. I'm kind of interested in them, but I prefer the guys just beneath them. I really like the bottom of the 8K. Matsuyama, Fitzpatrick, Sorrell Hatton. That's the range that I really like all the way down into the sevens. So I don't like that low 8, I guess mid to low 8 tier and then the middle 9s.
Yeah, and then you go down even further. I mean, I'm not really into Woodland, but Fleetwood at 7,700. Answer at 7,700.
Fleetwood I do have a strong take on. I think Fleetwood will be the highest owned player.
Okay.
I have him currently programmed at like 60%. I really, really like him here. I think the price is a joke. I think he's very capable of actually winning this tournament. And I think that he's just been a little bit off. And it's only been like a few holes here and there. It's mostly he's been steady other than that. And he's the kind of guy who I expect to play well here. I'm sort of gonna die on this Fleetwood hill, but I really, really like him. And at 7.7, I think you're just getting too good of a deal. And I like the other guys at 7.7 too, but he is just so much better to me than I like him better than anybody up to almost 9K. I really, really like him to make a strong finish here.
You like him better than Finau and Answer, I guess, huh?
I like those guys fine, but I really like Fleetwood. And I
gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I like Oosthuizen, by the way. I like Sung JM a little bit. Those are some other guys who I'm looking at. This whole range I plan on being overweight on, and I'm just skipping those other guys so I can sort of afford to do it. Kuchar I'll be overweight on. I'll be overweight on Sergio. Leishman. I'm not going to go to Matt Wolff this time. Not going to go to those guys, but all the other guys I just feel like I have enough interest in. And then down, like, you get lower, and you're talking about like guys who could easily top 10 this tournament who are in the low sevens. Who are going to be low owned, like Horschel and Scheffler and Brendan Todd, Harris English. There's just a lot of guys to like down there. So I'll say my current ownerships at the end of that, but I sort of just gave away a lot of the guys I'm looking at. I mean, it's still a first look, so I have medium interest in more golfers than usual because there's a lot of guys. Like, there's a lot of really good golfers, and there's, we know the variance in golf. So I'm trying to really stay strong to a certain few, and the number one for me is going to be Fleetwood, Rory, and JT. You'll have at least one, probably two of those guys in most of my lineups, and Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick, you have that. That's an interesting take.
I like him in this type of field. He's been really, 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 really good.
Yeah.
And I like the price on him, and I feel like there's a lot of safety without a lot of ownership and upside too. So he rates very high for me this week.
So I would be neglecting my duties if I didn't bring up one guy who's just actually we didn't get down to this level yet. But first of all, I agree with you with respect to Billy Horschel. I think he rates as a value as one of my top 10 values, and he's only going to be less than 10% owned, maybe. So I like that a lot. Another guy, again, now this is again getting a little bit lower than this, but the lowest guy I actually really like is I like Corey Connors here a little bit at 7K.
Interesting.
And again, he's another one who's not going to be that highly owned. Like for me, like we could talk about all this, but I didn't really get to anybody under 7K. And these are the guys, and I was all over all of them the last like several weeks. I guess they're suckering me in. You know what I mean? That's what DraftKings is doing. They're pricing all these like guys that I've heard of that I think can win at like 82, 85, 8,600, and they're making me play them. You know what I mean? and I have a feeling that what's going to end up happening is that's where probably a lot of people are going to end up going. So if you can get away with it, what you were saying, like play those top guys. If you want to play JTN, for example, you want to play JT and Rory in the same lineup. If you could get one of those 6,800, you can get some of those guys to cash. I think it'd be very different. They're very different.
Yeah, I'm okay with taking a shot on Dahman and Ryan Palmer at 6,900. Okay. I like them a little bit. I think that Poston is kind of reasonable at 67, and I think that Fratelli is actually a reasonable play at 68. So I do have a little bit of interest in those guys, but not as much as the previous weeks. I think Michael Thompson's worth going back to at 6,600. He was a bad week. The guy won 2 weeks ago. He's been really good on tour. I felt that way about Brendan Todd too, like just because he didn't win last week and he's going to be low owned again. But he's almost won. I mean, that would have been his third tour win this year, which is crazy. Like, let's take a shot on those guys while they're low owned. And then you get into the usual, like Furyk could have a decent thing here, although I'm not really finding myself with much interest there. Troy Merritt is coming off a win, even though he didn't play last week on the PGA. He won last week, and he's 6,500. Had been really pretty consistent for a while. I think that's an interesting value play. But again, you're not loving this range much this week. And Taylor Gooch is somebody who I would probably, take a little bit of a shot on at 6.4. He's been really solid in competition with a lot of these guys lately. But yeah, not quite as exciting as it has been before. Is there anybody I missed that you had below 7?
No. The closest thing I came up with, like I said, was Corey Connors, and then after that, I'm got to go down to Ryan Palmer. That's the guy that you said. Lucas Glover, I thought was okay.
Yeah,
at 6,700. But again, I don't know if you're going to need them.
I don't either, but maybe you could take a shot on a high scoring guy like Rory down here, Sabatini. Hope he finishes somewhere in the top 20 and that he rakes up, gets a big enough score. He's one of those, got Mr. 3 birdie in a row specialists. He has those weird eagles. He hits the ball in from everywhere. He's a high scoring guy who's down there. You could take a shot on. The Europeans, Bezidenhout. I think I actually pronounced that right by accident for the first
There's
time.
no chance you pronounced that right. Not that I have any idea how to pronounce it. You can't even pronounce like Kokrak. You know what I mean? How are you going to pronounce Bezuidenhout? There's no chance.
I used to be pretty good at names until I started having to read them off.
Oh, okay. Well, dude, wait till we start doing hockey slates. Then you're going to be really good.
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know I got it in me. But, yeah, so I'm sort of like siding that way. And, again, there's still more research to there's still more time. Like, I need to do my research on Wednesday evenings because we've just got too much going on sports-wise right now. And I'm also trying to peek in and watch and keep track of the games, too. Like, not just for sweats. I do have currently a lineup that's it's second in the 555.
Really?
I don't know the staying power of it. It's a literal. If I get an overtime or two in Dallas, that would be much preferred.
Yeah. So this is the not live look in. This is like 15-second delay look in at the end of the third quarter.
I do have Buddy Hield in that lineup, by the way, and
that's going to be the one. I'm telling you.
I have Hield and Porzingis in it, so.
Yeah.
Big fourth quarter.
So we'll see how this today goes. What I'd love to do tomorrow is maybe like at 11 o'clock at night, like my time, or like 8 o'clock, or maybe even a little later. Do like a last minute thing of the golf. You know what I mean? Because and maybe we'll do it live and have people give us whatever. And again, in a perfect world, we'll have sweats in either baseball or basketball or both going at the same time as we finish off our golf lineups.
Right.
That's the plan.
The plan, man. All right. Well, hopefully we'll have another sweat show for you soon once we get a really good sweat. Baseball sweats are really hard to figure out sometimes.
I know.
Without even knowing I had a sweat the other night.
Because you know what? It's not like you have like if you have a pitcher, he's not really in the 8th or 9th inning. You know what I mean? So like those sweat, you can't like be rooting for your pitcher. It's always got to be some hitter you're fading or some hitter that you need. Your pitcher's always out of the game at the end.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's crazy. All right. Well, good luck to everybody out there. We will see you at the top of the leaderboards, and we'll have another show for you tomorrow.
See you later, Bobby.